All right, y'all. It's the time of the day that you've been waiting for. It is the one show on air that will take you from the boardroom to the bedroom, from politics to the pulpit, and everything in between with your favorite friends. You are about to join the crew for Fresh Fire as we do what we do all together. Tune in.
Welcome to the crew.
Ain't
Radio
no
show here on WHOV on radio.
Ain't no welcome. Ain't no welcome.
See, America, now y'all see how I get treated behind the scenes. See, you see how he interrupted me? I'm trying to do the introduction to the show. And you see how he is. See, this is what goes on behind the scenes. And the Old Testament say, let it be established by two.
It's established. I'm good with that. It's established.
He's fine. We got a problem today, people. It's problem today.
I'm good with that.
You can't start the show with a problem. All right, that's not how it works.
I'm just saying. Don't look, y'all. He gonna cut somebody and they gonna say, "Welcome to the show." No, ain't no welcome. Ain't no welcome.
So do we just want to go ahead on to the show then, since we can't do introduction? You take the show then. You go ahead and take the show, Tom.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
you do the introductions then. How about that? I'm gonna sit here and listen to you.
Look. They already know who we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about some foolishness that's been going on in the media yet again. Why some more? So, this weekend or recently, the video has been released of P. Diddy beating the crap out of Cassie like a dude in the street.
In the street.
He's in a hotel room, and this fool is running down a hotel hallway in a towel, and he hits her at the hallway. Now, in her lawsuit, she said she talks about this particular incident.
Yes, she does.
It was a video, apparently, that captured a great deal of it. She talked about how he punched her in the eye, and so she was leaving. And you could see her walking down the hallway at the elevator. He runs down the elevator, runs down the hallway, catches her at the elevator. He drags her down to the floor.
The back of her head.
Yeah, he kicks her, he punches her, and then he kicks her again, takes her bags, and then he drags her. And then she gets a phone. We don't know who she's calling, but she walks over to the phone. He throws something at her. She claims it was a vase that he throws at her. He then takes her and throws her into a corner, and he throws another object at her. All of this is on video. All of this is on video. Now, when she filed her lawsuit, you had him, along with others, saying the only reason she was filing this lawsuit is because she was looking for a big payday. And they were saying that, whatever, she should have said something. If that was true, she should have said something. But they don't understand the complexities of domestic violence. Many times, a person can go through domestic violence, and they may not speak about what's going on out of fear, retaliation, or they may be financially obligated or financially dependent upon that person. So now it's all out. Crickets. Let's talk about it. Kevin.
You allow me to talk now? Can I talk now?
Let's go to Ray. I don't care. Let's go to Ray. You ain't heard me about having a temper tantrum. We can go to Ray.
No, ain't no temper tantrum.
Wait, but before we talk about it, we want to make sure that we acknowledge the listeners or the viewers who may be triggered by sensitive content or trauma. We may be laughing, but we're not laughing at what happened to Cassie. We're just joking. Anyway, we're just joking amongst friends. So I don't want people to be hitting the station up or getting emails and you hit me on social media saying y'all were making fun of a sensitive subject. So if you are triggered, this may not be the show you want to listen to. If you have been through domestic violence or have been know someone that has gone through domestic violence, we want to say our thoughts and our prayers are with you, that you continue to go through it in a positive way. And I'll have some information where if you have been exposed to domestic violence, there's a link that you can click. There's a phone number you'll be able to call because we want to make sure we're sensitive to all of our viewership. So I just want to put that trigger warning out there as well.
Thank you, Jason. We appreciate that, and we definitely agree with all that. And since Puffy, he's P Diddy, he's Diddy. I'm looking at your screen there. You done changed your name, man. Are you Professor now? Can you tell the listeners what's going on, man? You Professor now? Is that
I
JM?
you know,
JM? What's M stand for?
Listen, when you are distinguished as I am, because I was out going to get me something to eat, and the lady, when I was just talking to my wife, and she said, "Excuse me, sir, is your name Jason?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's who I am." And she said, "I know who you are. I hear you on the radio. I see you on YouTube all the time." And I cover myself. I said, "Well, bless God. Well, bless God." So I decided to call myself something a little bit different. So, you know, I am different. I am who I am.
He's
So
the professor.
yeah, called Professor J.M.
This is what happened to black people. This is what happened to black people, right?
We'll give ourselves a time.
You give them a title, and then they just go crazy with it. One person walk up to you in the store. You done changed your name on the Crew Radio show.
First of all, it was one person the other day, but it's been times, even at my new place of employment, I leave off the stage and they say, "Hey, aren't you the guy from the Crew?" And I'm like, yes, I am. I am he. I am the man. I am the man.
So now what do we call you now, man, on the show? I'm just you know, are you JM? Are you Professor? What are we calling you, man?
As we affectionately refer to Dr. Alvin Lyons, doctor, you will now, until I decide something else, it may be on the show, I decide to be something else. But when you refer to me, it is Professor J.M. Covington from the prestigious Hampton Institute.
And for the listening audience and the viewing audience, you got a belt there too. You know, you want to show everybody the belt that you got from your Institute of Higher Learning. Can you show everybody the belt that you?
Yeah, you know, listen. At the end of the day, we all kids at heart, and I just carry it with me. I got about 2-3 more of them, and you know, it is what it is. But for today, Professor J.M. Covington.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, in all seriousness, now we done got that out the way. We got Bishop on. We got Dr. Alvin Lyons, doctor, on as well. So, Alvin, we want to start with you. What was your immediate reaction when you saw the video that came out with Cassie and Diddy?
First of all, I was not remotely shocked because from the beginning, I believed he did everything that was said about him. Absolutely everything. So the video was just evidence to something that I already knew was true about who he is as a person. And I actually found the apology, quote unquote, really interesting. That was probably almost borderline entertaining for the kabuki theater that it was. And people will say that people can make a mistake and, you know, they can, you know, people can change. This is not, we're not talking about some changed man. We're talking about a caught man, and caught and changed are not the same thing. I have met changed people before who've done terrible things and have become totally different humans. But you're not talking about a changed man. You're talking about a caught man, because until this surfaced, we were still in denial of everything that had happened, that these were all egregious lies that were designed to tear down a man and his legacy. That was all the case when there was no evidence. There was no smoking gun as far as he was concerned. There was no proof. So for as long as, and particularly if you have a narcissistic personality, which he displays, might I add, I am not his therapist. I'm just saying to you that there are things in which, ways in which he operates that many of us with clinical backgrounds would say certainly appears to show narcissistic tendencies, right? So for someone like that, you're allowed to do whatever you want. But the thing a narcissist never wants is to be caught, because part of the power is in the gaslighting, the manipulating your perceptions of reality, to be able to tweak all of that, to rewrite things, to suggest that they are not responsible for what has happened, to tell people that it's not about the police, it's about the flag. See, narcissists will rewrite every story in order for it to align with what their agenda is. And so but when there is proof that is ugly like this, because if it wasn't this nasty, he would still tell you that there's a different story. But because it is so nasty that there's no way to spin it, and I guarantee you he has talked to people about trying to spin it. There's no way to spin it is the reason why you get the crocodile tears. And we talk about the dark times in our life, the worst times in our life, as if to speak to all of us who have had dark times. We all have had dark times, but they don't include kicking another human like they're a dog. They don't include abusing those who cannot defend themselves effectively. They don't include the violation of all form of any other human being. See, those are not just dark times. Those are demonic times. That's what that is. And that's different. So I was not surprised in the least. I am just glad. I'm concerned that this has existed for God knows how long, and it's just now coming out. That's a whole nother part of this conversation, but I am not remotely surprised. I am just so thrilled that we're finally past the point that this is conjecture and assumption.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And there are a lot of questions we're going to unpack. Ray, man, what's your thought, man? You know, Ray, you remember Ray Rice, right?
Yeah.
Ray Rice played, he was a running back for the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, he got caught in a similar situation in the elevator with his wife or girlfriend. And nobody really believed the situation until that tape came out.
Yeah.
They actually saw what he did. He never played in the NFL again. And so what's your thoughts on this, man, this video that's been released?
Well, you know, on the one hand, I thought to myself, I said, when did we evolve to a place where, you know, there's always been domestic violence, and I hate to say that, and the plight of women, and in particular Black women, have been involved in suffering at the hands of their abusers, and most importantly, those who are closest to them, husbands, boyfriends, members of their own family, and being assaulted in this way. And so I thought for myself, when did we really blur the lines between men do not assault women, no matter what happens, what they say, what they do? And I think we can fully say today that there is no line that exists. And there are some times where there are some women that may get out of pocket verbally, but I was always taught you never put your hands on a woman or a female at any point in time ever. So I had those thoughts. And then the fact that Xavier mentioned, I mean, he drug her. He drug her by the hair. He drug her by the feet, threw her down. And if you watch some of the other videos, if you look at some of the that could be her blood that's on the carpet while she's covered up underneath this blanket. So that could be said that could be happening. Take, you know, in 27. And so I'm having the conversations with them about, you know, the climate out here today and how to protect themselves in that kind of environment. But to the point of what Anton said earlier, much of those who were supporters are all now silent, because some of the argument was that this was happening to him because he was suing the bottle company that distributes of alcohol in terms of a result of trying to keep a Black billionaire in their place. Well, for those of us like him before, and I won't name some of the other groups, but, you know, for us, this is not new. This is like R. Kelly all over again. And this has been having said that, we all got some bones in the closet. The issue, Pastor Swan, Alvin, Anton, Jason, is you just can't have fresh meat on the bones, but blood oozing out of them. If it's gonna be some bones in the closet, let them be dried blood that's, you know, centuries and eons ago.
Right, long time.
You just can't have fresh stuff. So for this, you know, I think his music is career. I think his distribution deals are done. Music career is done. And you know, when Anton finishes with, you know, all of the charges and how they will stick, I think that, you know, he's gonna become the poster child for how you don't get away with stuff.
And to that point. Yeah, but hold on. But to that point, Ray, Ton, I do want to ask you, because this is where the questions come in. Released was not a new video.
Correct.
No.
Matter of fact, it was 2016, I believe, when the actual incident occurred. So we already know that, you know, Cassie settled with Diddy one day after the case went forward, right? For allegedly $30 million. So that tells you, damn. Now, it is also alleged that he bought the video from the hotel. that where this incident occurred. And so it seems to me now it's pretty odd. And I'm not defending Diddy at all. Let me just say that he's dead wrong for what he did, and he deserves everything that comes his way. Having said that, how do you think this video got leaked? Because if she's doing a non-disclosure agreement as a part of the settlement, it couldn't have come from her, right? Mm-hmm. So, Tom, from that perspective, man, it just seems. Let me ask you, do you think it seems strange that at this point, case is settled, he's still, this video's been 9 years old, and now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it becomes available?
Why people do what they do, who can really explain it? Because the reality of it is they had the opportunity, whoever had this video and leaked it, they had the opportunity to leak it back when Cassie filed a lawsuit. Here's the question I have is, did someone on her team leak that video? Because clearly when she filed the suit, she probably had access to this video, or she knew someone had access to this video, or knew that this video existed because she knew it happened in the hotel. So if it happened in the hotels, everybody knows that there's cameras all over hotels, particularly inside the hotel. So is it possible that someone that she knows leaked it because it never came out and they settled one day after the lawsuit? So is it possible that they wanted this video to come out because maybe he's still saying things like people are, because he had just made a statement. If you guys don't, just give you context. He had just made a statement saying, I am tired of all these people lying on me, defaming my character, defaming my family, coming after my family with all of these horrific allegations, none of which are true.
Yeah.
And so he had just made that statement.
Correct.
And within 24 hours, this video comes out. And so I believe this video may have been something that was in the care or the custodial care of someone that is known to Cassie or loves Cassie or whatever, or some connection to her. And when he made that statement, they're like, I'm sick of this joker up here lying about his innocence as if he is this victim. And they said, I'll teach you. And they released it. And now, after you just made this statement, this video comes out. And now you got to go back with egg on your face and issue this apology, which social media has overwhelmingly deemed to be a fake apology, unsincere apology. And so I think someone leaked it because they were sick of him lying. I think that the whole purpose of the release of this video is to show people who he really is. It had nothing to do with legalities or with criminal indictments or charges, but everything to do with his reputation. I want people to know this is the real Diddy, because right after this video was leaked, the DA from Los Angeles issued a statement saying that the statute of limitations had passed on these particular charges. The way it looks like it was going to probably be an assault. And so the statute of limitations had passed. So unfortunately, his office was not in a position to do anything unless the police discover more evidence of other crimes, or if there are other victims out there who they invited to come forth and bring forth their claims or allegations of other criminal acts. And if you exist, and if we find that there is some probable cause concerning that, then we will take appropriate steps. But as it relates to this particular incident, this particular video, we are past the statute of limitations. There's nothing we can do. And that was a statement by the LADA.
So yeah, it's just out to prove him wrong and catch him in his words is what it sounds like. Now, Al, I want to come to you on a serious note, because we know domestic violence is what it is, right? And we've had many conversations on this show about domestic violence, and as Professor said earlier, we take that seriously.
Mhm.
But let me ask you, as a black woman, and you know, black women oftentimes are maligned publicly, and I don't know if Cassie, I don't know Cassie's ethnicity, but I'm using you for this example.
She's multicultural, but go ahead.
So I'm using,
Including African American.
okay, so many people, I think I just saw somewhere where a rapper came out and apologized to Cassie because he saw the video. And he said pretty much, and I forgot who it was, I didn't believe her because, there are a lot of women out here who
Looking for a quick dollar.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. And so until I saw the video, now I see for myself.
Yeah.
How hard is it for women to tell the truth about what they are experiencing in relationship, only to feel like they're going to get that kind of reaction, that people really aren't going to believe them unless if it's their word, right? And in this case, it's his word versus her word. And that the only thing that can change people's perceptions is if you got actual proof that you can show somebody. And if you don't have that, then you got a lot of people that still believe that everything that happened to you is a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's so interesting? Okay, so I'm going to veer just slightly, but it completely ties into your question. Matt and I were having a conversation last night. And so my son, is a young adult and has a partner. And we were discussing the fact that it's important. I think dads need to be mindful of the fact that your presence and the things that you do around women, young women that are not your daughters, right? You have to be very sensitive to the environments that you create. And the example was simply that he was taking some stuff over to drop off at the property where she lives for my son and for her. And I said, do understand that if ever in some alternate universe that doesn't exist, because we have very deep conversations about things, that if there were ever a situation that a young woman was to say that, hey, something inappropriate happened where you were concerned, know that I would know that you never did it. I would know that. I know the kind of man you are. I know you never did it. But guess what would have to happen, baby? I would have to make sure that I supported her until we could prove that you had done nothing. And he was like, are you serious? And I said, because I have to think about it from this perspective. I am the mother of 2 daughters. If my daughters were at their boyfriend's house or significant other's house, and they said that their boyfriend's dad did something inappropriate, I would expect that the boyfriend's mom would have our daughters back until such time that we could prove that our daughters were being insincere, lying, whatever the situation is. That we have a responsibility to believe the victim first and then do the due diligence in order to determine whether or not something has or has not happened. And he's like, you know what, baby? I had never thought about that because I would just assume naturally you would just take the hard position to defend me because I'm your husband. And I said, I would know you didn't do it, baby, but I would still be thinking about the fact that I'm a mother of girls. And my job is to make sure that first, I make sure that the young woman is okay. Then I worry about you after. But I'm telling you right now that we have to be responsible for those that are often the victim inside of the situation. And more often than not, it's with people you would never think would do something crazy. That's where the greatest victimizations take place. Ask Anton. It's always the people that you think that you're so, that it's the uncle, it's the cousin, it's the this, that, and the other. They would never. It's the priest, it's the pastor, it's the teacher, it's the coach. They would never. Those be the first ones to do stuff. But nobody wants to pay attention to the young women who end up being victimized. So I tie that back to say, as crazy as that may sound for some folks, because they just gonna go down with their man, and my man would never, and this, that, and the other, then they find out that he's been fondling kids for 6 years. Okay, like I am of the perspective that the reason women don't say anything is because nobody has their back. The reason victims don't say anything is because they know that nobody's going to defend them, especially when you deal with power dynamics. That young woman at the time knew that she was dealing with somebody who had all the connections in the world, all the ability to intimidate, all the access to all kinds of things. There was reasons why she in that situation didn't. When we look at the Supreme Court justices, when we look at even what President Clinton did, when we look at the history of some of our senators and our public officials, we look at some of these bishops and some of these well-known mega pastors, Same situation. The victims never think that anybody's going to believe them. So they end up not telling the whole stories, or they're worried about whether or not their story is going to be able to get any kind of justice. So I'm saying that if we had a society that was a little more, that cared a little more about our victims, more people would tell the whole story. But more often than not, we're more interested in protecting reputations, protecting money, protecting currency, protecting connections, protecting access, all of those things. And those are more important than the people that get run over inside of the process. So I'm just saying, I take that stuff real serious. I believe kids before adults until we prove otherwise. Every single time. I'm always going to believe the kid first. And then after that, I'll deal with you. What were you going to say, Anton?
I agree with the believing the kids at first, but I have had cases and even one recently where the courts have deemed that the child, and he was a teenager, lied and was manipulated to lie on the accuser, and the person went to prison. And I also have seen a case where a young girl who was into pornography, and her mother caught her. And when she asked her, why are you looking at pornography? She said that, let's say Johnny inappropriately touched me. And Johnny was an adult, but she was like 12, 13, somewhere in the neighborhood. And him and his family, they had moved to Florida. And Johnny had never touched her. But she was looking for someone to blame. And because he had left, she figured, nothing would ever come of it. It was safe to do that. Yep. Right. So they went down there and they got him. And when they brought him back, they prosecuted him. And when they prosecuted him, he went to prison for 4.5 years. And by that time, I had been elected Commonwealth's attorney. And so I had to basically clean up someone else's mess. And this person had been to prison. Now, hear this, when you go to prison for being convicted of molesting a kid, you are a victim in prison. The low man on the totem pole. And all types of atrocities occur concerning you. And I won't even go into that. Use your imagination, but just know that. And so for me, what I typically do is I create an environment where people can share their truth, but at the same time, I have to reserve my opinion concerning that until I can find evidence to corroborate what you are sharing, because I've seen both sides of it. And as someone who has the ability to impact the lives of individuals on a daily basis, I don't have the luxury of having an opinion. I can only go based on what the evidence
facts. Right. What does the evidence say? And as a mom of daughters and a son, might I add, let me be crystal clear, because you know how I take my son very seriously. I will say to you that for us who are not in the position to decide freedom or captivity, which is the position you are in, the environment that we often create out here is the reason victims don't tell the whole story. It's the environment we create. It's not the justice system that's the problem. It's our environment. You know that however percentage of individuals, and we talk about that from a criminal perspective, the small percentage of individuals who are in court talking about this is a fraction of the number of actual cases that have taken place, because most people decide it's not even worth it. I'm not saying nothing about nothing, because I don't want to relive the trauma, first of all, and I don't believe that anything's going to happen to the individual. And that's what happens in more situations than not. And that's where power dynamics are so huge. Why having adults and children in a situation is so egregious because of the power dynamics. Why you can have the Epsteins of the world and these young women who are violated inside of these powerful, rich men with access situations, and they don't say anything. Those dynamics change everything. And most time, our victims will not speak about it because we don't protect them out here. Long before they get to Anton, we don't protect them out here. We want to question you out here. And I'm not saying that you automatically pick a side. What I'm saying is most of us aren't even about it. Most of us don't even stay neutral about it. Most of us don't give the opportunity for the honesty to come out because we've already decided that little girl lying, that little girl fast, that little girl such and such. We've already decided that. Go ahead.
So Al, let me make the distinction here between children and adults, because we definitely understand that there's a very different dynamic when it comes to children. I think, however, some may point out in this case with Cassie and Diddy that it was also alleged that if you watch that video, it was 2 clips of the video.
Yes.
Okay. And so in the first instance, she was there, and then allegedly she left the hotel. And then she came back to the hotel, allegedly to apologize. And the hotel staff was like, we saw the tape. We had them. You don't need to go back upstairs. You just need to leave.
Yeah.
And allegedly she chose to go back up. And then the second incident took place. So I think for some people who might be watching the video and you're looking at an adult here, not a child, right? What would continue to allow someone who just got beaten down like that would then decide to want to go back to that person and actually apologize?
It happens every day.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say the same thing.
Let's talk about that part of it.
And let's keep in mind also, when Cassie and Diddy started, she was a teenager. She was not a minor, but she was a teenager. So like, you're talking about someone, for all intents and purposes, she is 19. You all have children. You understand what 19 is. 19 is not an adult. So like, and then you drop her into the world with billionaires, the most powerful humans she's ever seen. And with the level of violence that they are able to, at the snap of a finger, make happen to another grown man. Do you think for 2 seconds that this child didn't think that I can't even play like this because I could be dead next week? Like there are, and that's with somebody with that kind of influence and power. If women who are messing around with dudes who got a 400 credit score and no job aren't telling, you could best believe that if you're dealing with a woman who's with a man who's got that kind of power, she ain't saying nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And that's the point I wanted to make, right? There are Cassies at every level of this.
Everywhere.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I want to talk about now. You know, Cassie is, with a celebrity who is a multi-millionaire, but they are Cassies living in our hometowns, Ray,
everywhere,
that go to our churches, that are in our membership, that
there are Cassies that could be in our homes and we don't even know.
Absolutely. Yep. So how do we talk to them about these situations? Because it seems like, again, unless you have evidence, even if somebody were to say this is what's happening to me, Alvin's already said in most cases they don't feel like they're going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Well, it becomes critically important, particularly for men who are fathers and uncles who have daughters in their family and those that they're covering, to create, I hate to use this term, but it's the term of the day, the safe space and the sacred space, so that they're able to communicate and to talk. Oftentimes, our young people don't feel comfortable communicating with us. We have to create that, remove the wall of barriers and create a sense of transparency so that we make it easy for them to be able to communicate if something is going on with you or something inappropriate has happened to you. I think in many of these instances, those of us who are men, we've got to lead the effort in the conversation in that, so that our daughters and our nieces are able to feel that level of comfort and knowing that they will be protected. It really, brings, Alvian's point to bear that much more clearer, because all too often, what she started to say, that girl fast, and how she is, and what that happens, how this takes place. If we don't lead the conversation so that we create the environment for safety, these girls will continue to go on continuing to be abused. And that's not to say that there are some who may be quote unquote fast, but even in that, there's a victimization that happens and that has happened to them that causes them to have a propensity toward being after the atmosphere toward this quick money, this fast money, and that kind of thing. So there, I mean, you know, it's a two-sided coin that is not, it ain't good on either side. It just it's a rough place.
It is.
Look, you don't wake up one day and say, I'm gonna be a hoe.
That's exactly right.
You don't wake
That's
up one
exactly
day and decide that I'm just gonna be a hoe.
Stuff happened that got you there.
There are things that have happened in your life, traumatic things that have happened in your life, exposures that have happened in your life that have created that seed that will cause you now to replicate that behavior later.
100%.
But
100%.
One day and decide to be it. Just like you don't wake up one day and decide, I'm just gonna carjack somebody.
Yep.
There are things that have occurred that we weren't watching, we weren't paying attention to, and now it is manifesting itself in this manner. But we have to be mindful of that. So now you got this seed, now it's manifesting itself, and all of a sudden we want to judge them because they are they're showing behavior that is not what we would consider to be functional type behavior. It's dysfunctional in nature. But no, it's dysfunctional in nature because that's what that seed was bred in. It was bred in an atmosphere of dysfunctionality. So now you're seeing the manifestation of it. So that's what you're getting. Cassie went back because clearly there were some things that led her into this relationship with this guy that would attracted her to this guy, this type of guy. Because here's the thing, people knew who Diddy was. People knew who Diddy was for years, for decades. It was an open secret. No one can say, we didn't know who Diddy was. You're lying. And the truth ain't in you if you're saying it. You knew who this dude was. You just didn't want to reveal it and expose it. That's right, I said it.
Just like R. Kelly, they knew who that dude was too.
Come on, peeing on people and all that other stuff. Everybody knew R. was a freak. Yeah.
But the point is that again, I'm trying to take kids out of it, right?
Yep.
Because many in society would argue for the woman to. This is the normal reaction when it happens to a woman. Well, what did you do to deserve that, right? Or what kind of situation did you do that caused him to react like that? Or to your point, Ty, you're a grown woman. You knew what you was getting into. You knew who Diddy was. You knew who R. Kelly was. You're a grown woman. Why would you get yourself in that if you already knew his track record? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Because in many of those situations, when you are attracted to that, it is a lot of times is subconscious attraction to that. Come on, hurt people normally hook up with other hurt people. I will tell you that. They will connect. They will find each other. Dysfunctional people find each other and create this train wreck. And so that's not unusual or uncommon to see that. But the fact that she did not leave, you have women who have been raised in wonderful homes and they unfortunately fell in love with this abuser. They may have kids and they don't want to leave because of the kids. They don't want to leave because they're dependent financially on this person. There's just a host of things or reasons why people don't leave, or they leave and they come back. I have a cousin who left her husband multiple times because of abuse. And finally, after one particular situation that was very egregious, she finally left. But I remember as a kid, because this cousin is like older enough to be like a mom. And I remember as a kid that the husband coming to our house, he drove slowly past our house, intimidating her. He was known to have a gun and everything. I lived in the hood and he drove past our house. And on that particular day, now my mom was known to be a fighter. I'm just telling you right now. She had the black belt and all that, Jay. She was a black belt, bro. She was a bruiser. She was known, and all her sisters, they were bruisers. And my aunt was over there, and she was good with the switchblade. Now I'm just keeping it real. Just BC days. She was good with that switchblade. Oh boy, drove past the house. She opened the curtains like she opened the curtains, and when he saw her, he quickly exited the neighborhood with a quickness, because those type of people are cowards. They're not going to come for a heavyweight. They're going to come for someone they can intimidate. But
that's exactly right.
She needed those that support that village to convince her, you are going to die if you go back the next go around. Because that last time was egregious.
Yeah.
And they had to convince you are going to die. if you go back, and that is what caused her not to go back.
And that's the point I want to switch gears to Jay real quick, but I want to say that this is the one thing I keep thinking about here. Does Cassie have a father? Does Cassie have brothers? Does Cassie have male cousins? Because
there for her.
if anybody on her side of the family that's a guy saw that video,
Man, did you hear her husband's
Don,
response?
I will
Her
call.
husband's response was death would be kind.
This is what I'm talking about. When you talk about village, right?
But Kev, let's talk about that then. Kev, because Kev, remember who you're dealing with. You're dealing with someone who is a billionaire or was very close to a billionaire back then, and you're dealing with someone who have mafia type behavior, mafia type allegations that's out there, blowing up people's cars, sending people to get that mysterious deaths happening around here where people are saying he's the one. So you got that fear factor where people are like, this dude operates like the mob. And remember in that last lawsuit, they said he had a RICO enterprise. He had racketeering stuff going on. So who going up against the mob? No, Tom, you're right. You're right in this particular incident. But I'm still referencing Cassie to not just her, but the Cassies of the world, right?
Okay.
And even in the Cassies that live in our communities, is there a father, a brother? Because I think all of us up here who are the men, the dads, know the something happened. Ray, something happened to your daughter, man. Jay, something happened to Layla. Something happened to Karen. I'm
talking about.
I'm calling Tom ahead of time.
You always call
ahead of time.
Get in trouble though. That's what I want to know.
I'm gonna call and tell him what about to go down.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. You can't.
Don't tell you. Okay. All right. Don't tell you. All right.
He wants to be able to help you. He can't help you if you tell him. So
but that's the point.
I want to give you a plea bargain early. He want to give you a plea bargain early.
Right.
So look,
Tom wants to be able to say, "Go and sin no more." That's what Don't tell him in advance.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell y'all. That's the first thing that I thought of when I saw the video. It won't even Cassie and Diddy. It was if I was her father watching this. If I were her brother watching this, how would I feel? And again, it's not just her. It's all Cassies.
Whoa.
Man. Anyway, but look, there is another side to this story in the time we have left. And Jay, I was having this conversation with some friends, and Jay, they spoke to Diddy's side, and what they said was they feel, and I think Tom touched on it earlier in the show. They said, you know what? It seems to me that Hollywood and society is systematically going after and dismantling Black men. And he started with Bill Cosby. And because of the increased wealth and power that Black men are having now, and they commented where you don't see as many white men in power getting arrested in these charges. And I brought up Weinstein, and they were like, well, that's one out of the several others that it appears that Hollywood is now targeting Black men because of their wealth and influence and power. What do you say to that, Jay? Or is it
Thank you. I appreciate it. I will go back before we answer that, what you just talked about, how, Cassie having a brother or a father. I have someone that's very, very close to me that experienced domestic violence. The issue is when you go to defend them, if they don't have a mind, like Tom said, that they're going to leave, they call the police on you. I had the police called on me multiple times because I'm a rider. Sorry, Tom, close your ears. You ain't hear this. I ride out and I go get them. But when I showed up, the HPD was saying, hey, you about to go with us. I'm like, wait, hold on, time out. And I look at the relative and say, I came here for you. And her response was, I didn't ask you to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, you can have the uncles and the brothers and the daddies. Because somebody mess with Layla or Langston, Tom, close your ears again. Murder is the case.
But that's kids, though. That's kids, right? Let's keep this adults.
Or
but he's saying even when they become adults.
Yeah. Or if when I saw that dude coming for Alvin on social media, I immediately called and said, "Yo, where does he
100%.
live? Where is he at?"
100%. That's
You know what I'm saying?
exactly what he did.
So you when you go to help these women, they gotta be ready to go. So
Yeah.
coming to the other side of your question, my wife's father said, he told me something a long time ago. When you do right, you can't go wrong. Meaning, if you do what's right, we can't play this color thing. Yeah,
That's
it may seem like they
Mhm.
coming after the black billionaires,
Mhm.
but the black billionaires, we all forget. We had a show about Will Smith. Will Smith forgot that he was black.
Mhm.
Bill Cosby. Bill
Mhm.
Cosby did what he did. I ain't saying he was guilty. I ain't saying he was innocent. I ain't getting into all that. He did what he did. You got to be ready to pay the piper.
Mhm.
For me, I was hurt when all this stuff started coming out about Diddy. But I knew about Diddy when he did that Making the Band. And when I saw all that, I was like, I really hope that somebody can get in his ear and help him and curtail him before it gets out too big. Because look at this. Cat Williams said at the beginning of the year, this is the year of exposure.
Exposure.
And
said
then
it.
he started naming names. And no matter, I ain't called no name because it's by the grace of God, my name is on that list. I thank God for Alvin, Kevin Swan, Anton, and Ray, and Michelle Covington, and keep me off that list. Because we all have our vices, but we have people that before we can wreck, they say, hey, let me holler at you real quick. Because if our vices are unchecked on the time, I don't know if it's Old Testament or New Testament, but it says pride come before the fall. So there's always a warning that comes, even while you're in the midst of that sin. There's a warning that comes and say, hey, I know this is what you like, but hey, there's another way to do it. But because of the money, he thought that he was untouchable. And when I saw that video on CNN, I had already lost respect for Diddy. But when I saw that, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
So to that point, right? And I'm playing the other side for radio and social media.
Let's hear this.
I'm not defending. I'm not defending him. No. Look, Tom just sat up in his chair. Look, he just sat up. He ready to go. No,
let me hear this other side.
I'm not. No, it's no other side. But what the conversation I was having is how, because the way black folks typically do stuff is what they see other folks do. And then so you in these spaces of billionaires and multimillionaires, you don't know how to be acting a fool like that unless you've seen other people do it, right? So the question that I keep getting back in these conversations is, how come other ethnic, I ain't called no ethnicities, how come others aren't being called out or exposed for the same stuff? Because it ain't just black men that's doing this. So how come others aren't being exposed?
Well, because in this incident, the others are not necessarily the ones with the microscopes on them right now, or the ones who got videotapes dropping, or the ones who got public cases that are coming against them. It just happens to be the ones that happen to be black. And whatever happened to the day of when your mama used to tell you, now, when you get out here in this store, you don't go touching stuff that's on the shelf. You stay right behind me. We're going to get here to the cash register and we're going to get out of here. Whatever happened to, we got to work twice as hard to get half as far. At least that kept us in a line where we had some character. And I'm not saying that we got to be so subservient to dominant culture. What I am saying is that we have to have that much more introspection in order to manage ourselves when we get out there into popular culture. This ain't the time for us to be acting the fool right now. We can't afford it. We just can't do it, period.
You know what? This is the first time that I'm so proud of you, Ray. Ray, you did good. Ray, you did real good. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Ray did good, y'all.
He did do good.
Back to Poland next week.
He's 100% right, though. He's
100% right. You are 100% right. And I call it the OJ factor. I call it the OJ factor. Sometimes society will remind you who you are. And I call it the OJ factor, the Michael Jackson factor. Come on.
But Tom, can I say this though? You said those factors, but I just hope and pray. We can't put people on pedestals, and I know we're talking about Diddy, but I hope and pray nothing ever comes out about my forever president. Because if there is ever an example of how to handle power
You and me both.
scrutiny,
Okay, you and
the
me both.
worst
'Cause I
thing
love
this
that
man did was
Let me
wear
just say
a
this.
cream
A
suit.
tan suit. Okay, I love that man. Don't even talk about.
If,
Don't even
if,
talk
if,
about.
Let me
if-
just
I
say
know
this.
Jesus is
If-
perfect, but if it come out about Obama did something, hey man,
Whatever else
I'm
is on
going.
that tape.
I'm going. I'm covering up.
I'm
I'm
not
going.
worried about that. I'm not worried about that because I tell you why I'm not worried about that, and not because I think he's perfect, but I think he understood the assignment.
He did.
That's exactly what I would
And
say.
when you understand the
knew.
assignment,
He
then
knew what
it's not
the
that
mantle
you're going to
was.
be perfect. It's just you
Yeah.
know how to conduct yourself under that scrutiny because there is pressure when you're under that level of scrutiny. And we recognize that people are going to make accusations against you. They're going to hate you. They're
don't
going
let it be
to
true.
look for things. They're going to go all over the place looking for whatever they can try to dig up. But he understood the assignment and he knew it was bigger than just him and Michelle.
So are you saying then in Diddy's case, because we got a quick time, he didn't understand the assignment? Maybe he looked at others and they were getting away with stuff, and then he decided to try to do it too, and then he gets caught?
No, what I'm saying about Diddy is what I say about a whole lot of people, and that is money only exacerbates who you are to your core.
Exactly. Diddy's problem was Diddy. That's the problem.
Say a word.
He was,
Yeah,
that was the spirit that was behind that man.
come on.
Is the reason why this was a problem, which
That's
is why I said that this is a demonic situation. That's what you
Demonic.
got going on inside of
To the
this. All right?
core.
This is a demonic situation.
To the
And
core.
he deserves to be called out, and he deserves everything that comes with it. And I want God to expose everything that is not of him, because the last thing we need is for people, particularly us, to believe that we can go to those levels shaking hands with the devil. Okay, like that is not how we need to get to the top. Because when he said the first shall be last and the last shall be first, he was not talking about putting people on pedestals just so that they can show you the power of hell. We were putting on people on pedestals so that you can see that this is what the power of God looks like. So I do not feel sorry for him. I don't want to hear about the race situation in this. If that dude wasn't doing what he was doing, there would be no scandal. So this
That's
is
right.
not about racism. Stop doing evil and you won't have to deal with the consequences of evil. I don't care what color you are. I do not care what color you are. And I hate it when people do stuff like that. Because look, if your kid is out here selling drugs, we're not going to point to all the white kids who are selling drugs and be like, but how come they're not getting in trouble? Your kid needs to stop selling drugs. Okay. Crime is a crime. We can deal with the equal distribution of justice. That's the secondary issue. But our first issue is the crime. Let's deal with the child. Let's deal with the grown-up. Let's deal with the demon. Okay. So I know we need to wrap up, but I'm telling y'all right now, folks, we need, as Black people, we are the representation of God. We need to get our crap together, because what it is that God wants to do in us as a reflection of what his power is, to take those who were nothing and to put them on the top of the mountain. We have a responsibility, and he ain't playing with us. And we keep playing around. He is not playing us. He didn't take us from slaves.
Come on, Deuteronomy 28. Come on.
He is trying to
take us. In other words, because she's giving you the long version, but I'm going to give you the short version. In other words, stop being ratchet. Just stop being ratchet.
All right.
We're having problems.
Stop being
Listen,
ratchet.
when you know when Albion go Jamaican on you, it's time to go. You know what I'm saying? She was there, but she went Jamaican. She was one step from saying Bumbleclaw. And I'm telling you right now, when she go there, we got to run. We out of time. Hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Okay, I hope you loved it as much as we did. Thank you for joining us for another fire show for the crew. Listen, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any streaming platform that you're using for your podcast. Share with a friend, expand the family. Listen, we're trying to do this thing with all of you as often as we possibly can. We're looking forward to you joining us again for our next show.